In 1959, 9 young Soviet hikers vanished in the Ural Mountains. What was found days later would become one of the most chilling and unexplained tragedy of the 20th century. A tent slashed open from the inside, bodies scattered, barefoot, some burned and others crushed. A battle with an unknown enemy, full of struggles with no survivors left. The official cause? An unknown compelling force. But this isn't just a story about how they died. It's a story about what we can't explain. A truth buried under decades of snow, secrecy, and something far more unsettling. On January 27, 1959, 9 experienced hikers, led by Igor Dyatlov, set out on what was supposed to be a routine expedition into the Ural Mountains. They were elite students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, young, sharp, and highly trained in survival and mountaineering. Their goal was to reach the remote peak of Kolat Cycle, Dead Mountain in the native Mansi language. A harsh, isolated landscape, but not beyond their skill. For days, the group documented their journey in photographs and journals. Smiles, snowball fights, shared meals. There was laughter, music, and plans for the future. But on February the 1st, everything changed. As a brutal snowstorm rolled in, the group made a strange decision. Instead of camping in the forest where trees could have offered shelter, they set up their tent on an exposed slope. No cover, just snow, wind, and an open space. One theory is that they didn't want to lose elevation, but others believe something or someone was in those woods and they were trying to avoid it. Later, search teams would find the tent exactly where they'd left it, but something had gone terribly wrong. The fabric had been slashed from the inside. Their boots, coats, gear left behind in panic. Footprints, barefoot and in socks, led downhill into the forest. No one runs into a Siberian night half naked unless something truly terrifying is behind them. What they fled into was not safety, but silence and death. The first 2 bodies, Krivonischenko and Doronchenko, were found near the tree line, under a tall cedar. Barefoot, half-dressed, with burned hands and legs. They had tried to light a fire using branches that torn from the trees, some from 5 meters high, as if someone climbed in a panic or to escape. 3 more bodies were discovered between the tree and the tent. Dyatlov, Kolmogrova, and Slobodin. Crawling back, inching towards survival. Slobodin's skull had a fracture, serious but not outwardly visible. No blood, no bruises, no explanation. Then came the last 4. Found months later, buried beneath 4 meters of snow in a ravine. These bodies told a story no one could make a sense of. Lyudmila Dubinina's chest was crushed with inhuman force. Her ribs snapped inward like splintered wood. Her tongue was missing. Thibaut Brigonel had a skull fracture so severe it was compared to the impact of a car crash. Zolotrov's ribs were shattered, but again, no external wounds. Kolvatov had no visible injuries, but His stiffened pose spoke volumes. Arms contorted, eyes wide as if caught something in an unimaginable horror. Radiation was found on some of their clothing, especially Dubinina's and Zolotrov's. Not enough to kill, but levels far above normal. Why? Some wore clothing different from others, scraps torn in desperation. They had survived for hours, maybe longer, alone, injured in the cold. What kind of terror makes you flee barefoot into a blizzard and then stay away from your only shelter? Whatever happened, it wasn't instant. It was a methodical breakdown, a nightmare that played out in stages. The Soviet investigation began quickly and ended just as quickly. By May of 1959, the case was closed. The conclusion? An unknown compelling force. This phrase gave no closure, just confusion. Authorities suggested an avalanche, but the slope wasn't steep enough. The tent wasn't buried. Their footsteps remained preserved, clear, orderly, and undisturbed. There was no sign of violent tumbling that follows a real avalanche. And the injuries? They didn't match the snow pressure. They matched something else, something far more violent. Rumors spread. Secret military experiments, parachute mines, infrasound frequencies that cause panic, chemical weapons test. One theory suggests the hikers stumbled into a classified Soviet project and was silenced. The area was near a known military testing ground. Several declassified files later revealed activity in the region on the same night. Even the lead investigator, Lev Ayanov, later confessed he was ordered to keep details out of the report. He admitted, years later, that he believed UFOs were involved. Other hikers in the area reported strange glowing orbs in the sky, orange spheres, silent and fast. These accounts were scrubbed from public records. Key files were marked classified. Some were lost or redacted. Cameras recovered from the scene had missing frames. There were no official follow-ups, no reopened inquests, just silence. Someone wanted this case buried. But the gaps in the case were just as disturbing as the details. The autopsies raised more questions than answers. Some internal injuries were so violent, coroners said they resembled blast damage. Yet, there were no signs of explosives, no shrapnel, no external trauma. There's also the timeline. The hikers kept detailed journals. Their last confirmed entry was dated Feb 1st. But one member's camera had photos taken after that date, suggesting they may have survived longer than the official narrative admits. Even more chilling, one photograph appeared to show a shadowy figure at the edge of the trees, human or something else. The local Mansi people spoke of sacred land, of warnings not to enter Dead Mountain. Some believed the group disturbed something ancient, something best left alone. Others claim infrasound from the wind that causes panic attacks, a rare but possible phenomenon. But could sound waves crush ribs, tear out tongues? Unlikely. Too many pieces still don't fit, like a puzzle that's missing its most important parts. Maybe that's the real force behind the mystery, not what happened, but who made sure we'd never know. In 2019, 60 years after the Dyatlov group vanished, independent researchers stepped in. Scientists from Switzerland and Norway used updated snow models and simulations. Even animation software developed for the movie Frozen helped test avalanche plausibility. And yes, some results lined up, but just enough to suggest possibility, not certainty. In 2021, the Russian prosecutor general insisted the case was closed. But what's more suspicious? An open mystery, or a government desperate to end it. Because decades later, after better science, better tools, and global attention, we're still exactly where we started, staring into a frozen night, searching for a reason 9 people never came home.